and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker. Thank you so much for joining us. However you may be joining us, we appreciate it. You know, it's this time of year when we spend a little bit of time thinking about looking back and some of the things that we have or have not done to maybe help or impact others. I am so glad that I just recently have been introduced to a group of people that are making some remarkable impacts in our community. And two of their leaders are with us here today. Very glad to welcome back to the program Lawrence Dehart, the Executive Director of the Terrebonne Churches United Food Bank. Welcome.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Sitting next to him is somebody who rarely needs an introduction, and just ask him, he'll give you his introduction.
You know, you're not the first person to do that. Hey, I'm Spud McConnell, and I'm the Community Relations Director for the TCU Food Bank.
See, I told you, he doesn't need me to do that. He gets to do it on his own.
I've been doing this a long time.
I know that's right. Never afraid of anything. But you know what? One of the things that I've been bragging about ever since I got a chance to see the new operations at the new building, it's just been remarkable to me. And it's just one of those things, if you don't see it, you don't know it, and people can tell you about it. But boy, once you see the well-oiled machine that you have and the reason why you have it, it's just remarkable to me. So Lawrence, it's nice to be able to talk about it, but you made a huge impact on our team. You know, we do home health, and I'm fortunate that I get to do hospice on the side, and I feel like I make a difference for people, but y'all are making a dramatic difference to multiple communities every day, every hour of every day, and it's just impressive.
Thank you. Thank you. There's a lot of people that makes that work, and most people think that Lawrence does it all. He doesn't.
Spud does it all.
Yes. Absolutely.
No, I'm standing on the sideline with my pom-poms going, get into it, get into it.
But you've rolled your sleeves up. You dive
I get
in.
dirty, Doug. Don't get me. And look, we're now adding another program to the 20 programs that we already do.
Wow.
So
it was 17. Is it 18 now?
It's 20 now.
It's 20.
Yeah.
So it was 19, and now it's 20 programs. And again, it's remarkable how you do it. And so just tell us about some of the impacts and some of the volume that we've been dealing with here recently.
2 years ago, I sat and looked at my board and said, we were at the old location then, that 10,700 was tippy-toe what we could do, and we need to budget and everything around that number of people served. Last year was a COVID year. We refer to it as the year from hell.
Sure.
Because we had to throw out everything that we did and that we knew how to do for 30 years and do it totally different. It ended up being a blessing. And so we increased from 10,700 served to over 21,008. This year, we were not far from that number for most of the year. This is not always just a hurricane number, but we will come in very close to 26,000 people served. We will have gone from 1.2 million pounds of food in 1 year to 1.8, and the impact, if you had to buy that food, would cost this parish over $3 million. And just to put that in perspective, that 1.8 million is the equivalent of 109 bull elephants and 45 blue whales. And people still have got to take it in and sort it and box it and hand it out, and that's what we've done this year.
Well, you know, Lawrence, we've talked a little bit about what changes had to be made during the hurricane, but there were dramatic changes, as you mentioned, when COVID hit. Everything about your process changed.
Yes.
And yet you dramatically increased from 10,700 to 21,800.
Right. Just
How does that happen?
God.
As God would have it. It's one of my favorite lines.
We were called on a Wednesday in the middle of COVID, and Gordy called us up very nicely and says, Lawrence, I don't want to have to shut you down, but you can't go inside and do what you've been doing because of COVID. You have to go to drive-through. This was on a Wednesday at 2 o'clock. Saturday morning, after we had to take everything from how we box food, how we process it out, the paperwork, and then we had to devise a system that was a drive-through. How are we going to give out food? So we need to put in boxes. What's going to go in the boxes? Okay, one box isn't big enough for a family of 4, 5, or 6. How do we do that process? And then once we decided what we were going to give out, it's how you're going to get it in the car. then it was, okay, the paperwork they're not going to sign. We have to go down the street car to car. And so we had to change the forms. We had to change the process. I had to put people in a tent on a corner lot that had no electricity and no internet. And how are we going to check to see our clients and that sort of stuff? So for 48 hours, me and about 3 other people did not sleep. And we ended up handing out 89 families on Saturday, pretty much without a hitch. And we've just taken on that system and we've done it. For Christmas, just to give you Thanksgiving week. And it's become almost blasé, where in the old system, if we did 25, 35 families, that was a big day. The week before Thanksgiving, the Saturday to the Saturday, we did 8 mass distributions in 5 different locations. One day we did 203 families.
Wow.
And it's a situation where in that 8 days, we served 3,175 people and gave out 103,000 pounds of food. That would have been a year for us in the past. Christmas was a little less than that, but pretty much along the same numbers. So we're capable of more, and the more we're capable of, we have more different organizations coming and going, can you help us with this? So that's why we're here every day, and this is why if we've got it in there, my philosophy is God filled it up once, he'll continue to fill it up as long as we praise him. So that's what we do.
It's not only the inspiration for you guys, but sometimes the inspiration comes from others, even the hardest hit areas after the storm.
Well, down in Montague Middle School is they've been doing a food drive every year,
Right.
Anyway, and they've always been very, very generous. Last year they did 3,600 pounds of food last year.
Right.
Okay, so
During
COVID,
Right.
they did that. This year, we pushed a lot of food down there, because
Right.
they were so hardly hit, like Pointe-aux-Champs. Pointe-aux-Champs, a village of 500 families. There's 7 livable houses in Pointe-aux-Champs, but didn't stop them. They're still down there shrimping and crabbing, and you want some good shrimp, go down there.
Absolutely.
But Montague Middle School, surprisingly, calls us up. They did their food drive. They came up with 4,600 pounds of food. This middle school, these kids and their families. And so we got a pickup truck, we call it Shake, Rattle, and Roll, and we loaded up a trailer and went down there and came back with 4,600 pounds of food. And look, we know what food we hand out, especially our manager, Cheryl Skinner, who runs the warehouse. She
Right.
knows what we send out. This was not them returning stuff to us.
Right.
They took the stuff we sent, but they gathered 4,600 pounds of food and some cash.
Wow.
So that lets you know how inspired they, and smiles on their faces.
Yeah,
It certainly makes us appreciate our jobs
Right.
more, because it seems like we've inspired these kids to turn around in such a state of adversity and
Right.
still got smiles on their faces and thinking about everybody else.
Yeah, we've got a shot of that. So, Jen, bring that up if you don't mind. This is a shot. And again, just kind of describe that for us if you don't mind, Spud.
That's a bunch of the kids who are loading everything into the trailer, and that's our pickup, Shake, Rattle, and Roll.
And does it really shake, rattle, and roll? as you
Yes, it does.
go?
But it works, and it gets us where we need
There
to
you
go.
go.
So we just, I mean, look,
gives you an
just
idea.
happy as they could possibly be, loading up this truck with all kinds of food and different varieties of food and everything else, and smiling the whole time they did it.
And it kind of makes you think, how in fact they can do 3,600 pounds during COVID is remarkable.
Yeah.
But how to gather 4,600 pounds and cash in one of the hardest hit areas
Yeah.
in Lower Terrebonne Parish?
That's their faith.
Yeah.
That's
And
their faith.
it echoes the
Culture.
yes. That's exactly right. We are a culture of helping each other. And we'll do it with a smile on our faces. One of the things that I think is remarkable to a lot of the contractors that are coming down, including FEMA and some of their groups, they can't believe how happy and gracious and smiling people who are just have lost everything are.
It's a situation, the people who got hurt the most and who had the least to give gave some of the most. And we try to tell that with, I have two favorite stories. You'll hear one in the next section. One of them is the starfish story.
Okay.
And I tell this to people all the time. There was a beach, and a low tide came unexpectedly, and thousands of starfish got
Stranded.
washed upon the shore.
Yep.
And the starfish were going to die if they didn't get back into water, and the tide was not going to come up fast enough. So this 9-year-old little boy gets there, and he picks up a starfish and flings it in the water as far as he can. And he's just going down the beach, picking up starfish, flinging them one at a time. And this elderly gentleman came up and said, "Son, you're doing a good job, but there are thousands of starfish. What difference are you going to make?" And he picked up that starfish, he looked at it, and he flung it in, and he said, "It made a difference to that one." And that's what TCU is about. I can't feed everyone, but I can feed a bunch. And that's what we're going to do. And it's not just a handout, but a hand up. And it's not just feeding their bellies, but touching their hearts and letting you know we're standing here alone because the rest of the world has forgotten us. And we're going to have to do this on our own. And this is the community going, I may have 20 cans, and I'll give you 5. And, you know, it's like the story of the lady who had 2 suitors, and the first one gave her $10, and the second one gave her 20. So she went with the guy with 20, thinking, okay, he's better because he gave me 20. But what she didn't realize, the guy who gave her 20 still had $200 in his pocket. The guy that gave her 10, that's all he had. And that's what the people in this area are. Yeah. I may have 10 bites, but I'm going to give you a few because together we can make it, and that's what we have to keep it going. These children have touched me.
Yeah. Well, and interestingly enough, one of the things that you've really echoed for me is it's far better for what you need to donate $1 rather than donating a can of food.
Yes.
And the difference is because that $1 means what?
I can buy anywhere from 7 to 8 cans of food with it. If you go to one of the local supermarkets, and I like you to shop local because they support us a lot, you're going to buy 1 can of corn, but that $1 will get me 7.
This is a time of giving. Y'all make it a point to do that so very often, and giving of yourselves, giving of what people need, and just the volume of people you serve is remarkable to anybody paying attention. But sometimes you get inspired as well by others, huh?
Yes, I've been involved with the food bank for 8 years, and there are some stories, there are some things that will haunt me and touch me. This one touched my life and still drives me today. Everybody right now is looking at, not everyone, many people are out there going, woe is me, looking at my situation, but don't realize that this is only temporary. And as bad as your situation is, we deal with people every day who have it worse. A few years back, this young lady came in and asked for food assistance. And if you looked at her from the clothes that she wore with the shorts and the top, she was a rental. I don't know a nice way to put it.
Sure.
But you saw a darkness and an emptiness in her eyes and her soul, and you just want to help them. And when we go, and we had screened her and we said yes, and we were in the process of loading out our car and providing her with help. And as we ask everybody to do, after we load it up, we tell everybody to have a blessed day. And this young lady looked at me, and all of her belongings were in the car, and she really, really looked in despair. And when we said, have a blessed day, she says, that won't happen. And I says, why? She says, God can't love me because I'm dirty.
Mm-hmm.
You tell the young men loading up the car to go in, and you go ahead and you saying that's so not true, and you want to figure out a way to get that home. So I took a brand new $20 bill that I just happened to have in my pocket, and I put it up in front of her, and I says, what is this? She said, a $20 bill. I said, what is it worth? She said, $20. And I said, okay. So I took the $20 bill, and I crumpled it up, because it was very brand new, and crumpled it up. And I bent down, and I put it on the ground, and I picked it up. And I said, now it's all crinkly. I said, it's not as crisp, but what is it worth? She said, $20. So then I took it, crinkled it up again, and I put it on that limestone parking lot that the old facility had, and put it on my foot, and I ground it in. And now when I stretched it out, it was torn, and it was dirty, and it was crinkled. And I asked her, what is it worth? And she said $20. And I said, that's what you're worth to God. The same worth that you were when you came out and you was a baby. That's how God sees you today. And she started crying. And through our connections, we were able to get her help. And this young lady today, we immediately got somebody to go and meet with her and to help her. Got her off the streets, got her a nice job, an apartment. She has since met a very nice young man. He had one child and from a previous marriage, and they have a daughter together. And if you look at her today, there is no semblance of what she used to be. And if you would not have known her on that day and you met her today, you would have no idea. So when you go around and you say, I've done too many things, I'm not worthy of God's love or his help. Every day, if you're struggling, I promise, get on your knees and just talk to him. He helps, and he helps us in so many ways that we don't see. Every day at the food bank, I'm amazed at what happens, and we see that every day, and there are stories, and I keep telling everyone, you come and volunteer at the food bank, and it will forever touch your life. And we have people that have been coming for years and saying, I just come here when I need to be lifted up. And you're neck deep in the world, and you're seeing people that you're the only kind thing in their life that's going now. Or you have people coming up and going, you're my last hope. And you can give hope to somebody who there isn't a whole lot of that to come around. And you got to understand that this is our food bank. We make it work. All the money that we get comes from either grants or from the people in this parish. We get no government help, nothing from Terrebonne Parish, not a bad thing, but this is something that the public supports. And this is a situation where it's only as good as what we in this parish want to make it. And we're there every day because we have to be. But I need your help. Come out and volunteer. You know what? You may say, my $1, my $2, or my $5, what difference is that going to make? I can promise you, think of the starfish story, because it makes a difference to one. I mean, I can give a month's supply of food for $11 to a family of 2. So if you don't think that your $1 or 2 makes a difference, it does.
And it echoes the value of not a handout, but a hand up. And that's what the now 20 programs that you help provide does for people in need. And both of those stories, the girl who felt dirty and the starfish, were both single and individually hurt or hurting. And their life was improved simply because somebody cared about them. And that's what the food bank does. It cares about those that it can help. So can we send out a holiday message of hope as we finish up?
From our family to yours, have a very Merry Christmas. And I hope that your Christmas holidays are full of wonderful memories that you will keep for a lifetime.
Spud?
You can't top that. We're here to help you. And it's like that movie, A Wonderful Life. You have no idea how many people your life touches. And if you got rock bottom there, believe me, there are people like us and around the world who are willing to give you that hand up.
We appreciate everything you do. Merry Christmas to you both.
Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you for everything. All right, guys, that'll do it for us in this edition of Bayou Time. Don't go anywhere. A lot more local programming when we continue.